Hello, everybody. Hello, Dave. Nice to meet you. Hello, Peter. Hello out there on the screen.
Hello,
Hello, Armin.
Dave. Nice to have you on.
Nice to
and
be here, Dave.
you have a great background.
Yeah, I'm a bit envious here because you live there. This is like a log house, a log cabin, and you live there.
Yeah, this is real. It's not fake. I built this cabin 10 years ago. This is built onto our original house. And
Okay.
right across the way, about 20 feet from here, is a log home that I just built this past year. So it's about a 40 by 40 structure.
Wow.
And probably this summer or fall, I'm going to connect the two with like a dog trot. So it's going to be two houses joined. So
Wow.
that's been my project for the past year and a half, has been just working on that house over there. I can't have you guys in there because we don't have the Wi-Fi, doesn't pick up. All my family's in there, so it's just loud. You know, it's a beautiful log home, and I'll show you guys someday. But right now, there's no way we could have this in there.
No worries, but it looks great. It looks already awesome.
So where do you live?
Well, we spend most of our time in that house, the one there.
Which state?
Location-wise, city, village.
I live in Kentucky. I'm in South Central. I'm only a couple hours from Tennessee.
Oh yeah. I was there. I was there with Byron Ferguson.
Okay.
We drove through Kentucky and we went Tennessee. That's
don't say Tennessee, otherwise he starts singing Tennessee Voice again from Elvis Presley.
And I lost my the night they were playing the beautiful Tennessee.
Thank you. Now we lost our last few subscribers. Nice.
But that's a great song, no, Dave? That's a great song.
Tennessee, Kentucky.
Tennessee words.
Great. Now we talk about Kentucky.
There's another song of Elvis which is called Blue Moon of Kentucky.
Yeah.
A nice song.
He was a redneck and he doesn't want to admit it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Nice.
What you should be else? What else should you be?
So you're a craftsman, Dave. So
a log cabin redneck craftsman.
Nice. Yeah. And he's in good shape. You saw the video he made with his Comanche style shooting, where he only runs with his Western boots through the forest. Madonna, he's in a good shape, huh? Nice. So, Dave, can you tell us a little about you? When did you start archery? How did you get in contact with bow and arrow? How did this all start with you?
Yeah, so I started as a kid when we lived. It's long story short, that's why I also live in the country now again, back in the backwoods. But we moved to an upstate New Jersey area in the country, and I was the oldest of three. And my mom couldn't handle me, and she was alone. My father commuted far to the city to work. So I kind of had the woods and the mountains to myself, and I kind of explored. I only had books then. So I knew I was from Native American heritage, so I would read books on that, and I wanted to make bows. So as a kid, I played with bows and arrows that I made. We didn't have a lot of money, so they weren't going to buy me anything. And I just made them as a kid and had fun with them, and I loved archery at that time. And I remember I saved up money through odd jobs and whatever, some allowance that I got on occasion or birthday money. And I saved up and I bought my first bow. And I think it was a Bear. It was one of those all fiberglass with the rubber handle.
But they're good. Yeah, they're nice.
They were good. Yeah. And it was the bow with 3 arrows. And I don't even remember if it had like a little quiver or something. I don't know. But, I loved it. And I would string it up and I'd put it across my chest. I'd have my arrows somewhere, and I'd have my rifle and my compass, and I would go climb the mountains and go in the woods, and I was just, having a ball.
Dave, how do you get into, because of the old pioneers, because of the Indians or Native Americans, as they call them today, or how do you get into? Because we had the same, Armin is from Germany, I'm from Austria, and we played the same games. We'd like to be Indians or trappers or Westmen, like that. How you got into it?
A little bit because of my heritage. My mother didn't speak about it much, and it's because of I guess my father's side of the family was kind of, they didn't really, they were more of the dominant side of the family. She had just her immediate family there, and everyone else was still in Ecuador. And there was, so all of most of my family was my father's side. We all lived in the same town. So it wasn't really, that side of me, and my mother was kind of really never really spoken about or dug deep into the ancestry and all that stuff. I heard some stories when I would have my great grandparents visit from Ecuador, and they would tell me some things, but I was always interested in it. And then of course movies, I think what did it for me was getting out in the woods with a bow and my knife and my gun and my compass was Rambo.
Of course, Rambo.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Rambo.
Rambo, man. I did it for me. I had the Rambo knife. I had it all,
Of course.
I had the bandana on my head. I had long hair as a kid, which I have now.
Nice. Great. Yeah.
I like to say here over, and I hope I can speak also to Armin. It was also that old Western movies where you see that freedom, that big country, and you could go outside and hunt and live just on the campfire and talk to nice buddies. And so it's a kind of big romantic idea, and it's true. If you ever experience it, if you go out with a hunting party with your buddies hunting, and you are back in the evening and you have some food at the fireplace and at the campfire and so on, that's nothing can top this.
That's exactly why I do it now. That's exactly why I live the way I live now. It's more of that's the reason now as an adult versus when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was more of just my imagination and becoming
more romantic. But if you experience it as a kid, you have the romantic idea or the movies and so on. But if you experience it live in real life, you see it's even better than the movies.
Oh, sure. That's the biggest reward in life, and that's why I'm trying to teach my kids. As a kid, I did know, I love the woods. I wanted to always be in the woods. I'd come home from school.
Me too.
I made sure I can get in the woods until dark, and I would, when I had days off, I'd be in the woods, and that was it. I would do whatever it would be. I'd set up camp. I'd set traps. I'd just, whittle away at stuff. I always had a pocket knife since I was a kid. Now as an adult, the reason I took up archery again, because I had a big span of time where I didn't really do it. I always had a bow and I would mess with it, but I didn't really start making bows again until I decided to hunt to feed my family. And that's when we moved here to Kentucky. And the first time I went hunting was with a rifle. And, it was not rewarding enough. It was violent. It was easy. It was just, I was proud that I was able to fill the freezer and accomplish what I set out to do.
Yep.
But it wasn't everything that it needed to be for me, I guess. And,
it was not as a challenge you wanted to have.
It wasn't challenging enough. If we're being honest, it wasn't challenging enough. So I decided that I was either not going to hunt ever again, or I was going to make my own equipment and make it as challenging as possible. And if I couldn't pull it off, then I wasn't going to hunt. So and that's what set me off back on making bows again. And, that's been 8 years now. So it's that one thing led to another, and that's kind of what got me back into archery. But archery it's got so much more. I became a hunter, and I wanted to do it the most challenging way, which we can talk more about that. I have some stuff that I'd like to talk about. I'm going to be writing a book on some of my experiences through archery.
And I like to say, Dave, I'm not the type of, when I ever go back to your roots and so on, it's kind of a slogan. But if you're really out into the woods hunting and on the campfire and so on, then you're really back into your roots. You're doing the stuff the first humans did to be humans. Share their prey, talk, about lie about the hunt,
Of course.
of course, and
It's a big fish.
having fun and saying, oh, I'm the biggest guy because I got the biggest deer, and so on. That's so natural. That's so in our hearts and in our soul. And you know, I mean, I don't know if you watch our podcasts. We're talking about this today. It's all denied. If one is driving a Porsche or a Ferrari, it's the same like a big deer. So this is the guy who has a big deer. So they like him, and that's the very same thing. It's just kind of
it's all driven by ego,
perverted a little, but
deer is only different written now. It ends with CK, but for the rest it's
we can't deny our humanity if we deny or get away from hunting and from nature and from, and you know, violence is nature. Fighting is nature. Pushing against all bad things is nature, and that's our roots. That's how we are. And today, all they are denying these things. They say, oh, you're a violent guy because you're hunting, or you like guns, or you like bows, or you like boxing, or I don't know. Everything is bad. And they deny humankind. They deny how apes, if you believe in that idea of apes become getting humans, they deny everything, and that's great that we can join people.
We simply shift in a new kind of humanity, with all these soft and all these green and all these whatever. They talk about being green, but they have no idea what it means.
With lacquered fingernails and
of course, and
gaiety.
And now you have 25 genders. You know, in our times there were just 2, and there's still only 2. But now we have to, and then you need to pay attention. I saw last time Peter Jordan talk about it, that you need to be careful which gender, how you speak to them now. So, I mean, if it's a guy, it's a guy. If it's a girl, it's a girl. So for me, it's quite simple, and I keep it simple. So if you don't like it,
I read in I don't know, maybe you know it, Dave. This week or last week, I read about something on Facebook in some state or in the United States. I don't know. They made a kind of law that it's forbidden for teachers to talk about sexuality before a certain age or so.
I don't know. I honestly don't follow much of the mainstream media, and we homeschool our kids, so our kids don't go to public school. We don't buy into all that, so we're totally against all that. Whatever they do, they can. It doesn't affect us. You know, COVID didn't really, other than COVID hurting some of my courses that I was going to teach, you know, it didn't really change life for us that much. You know, the price of things is affecting us in a little way, fuel and stuff like that. But other than that,
and make no mistake, you can really get very sick from COVID. It's no question about that. It's no question about.
You can get sick from every flu. If you don't have your antibodies in charge, if you don't train your body, if you use or you think your immune system is something you only get from the outside. When you don't work on your immune system like you work on your muscles, well, of course you're weak. And then you get sick, obviously. But every flu, it's nothing different. But we don't talk about the walrus, otherwise they delete the video again. Yeah. It's hilarious. You can't even say anything. And this is the thing which is coming now. They change all the media laws, that there's only one opinion in the media, and when you don't follow this opinion, you're directly criminalized.
You're done.
And that's hilarious.
But going back to what you said, Peter, about, you know, hunter and the biggest antlers, you know, I think that a lot of hunters today, modern hunters that are, you know, we as humans are lazy, right? We're lazy. Let's face it. We're lazy compared to our ancestors that we were just romanticizing about, the ones that lived really free. You know, the life that I'm trying to live, you know, it's hard. And humans today are lazy. So they're going to look for the easy way out. They're going to use all the modern technology they can to get those big antlers up on their wall.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And they'll, so they have game cameras that basically tell them on their mobile device when the deer of their dreams passes by their stand or their blind. They have invisible blinds, they have scent control, they have all these things that they can go in their crossbows and say they killed it with a bow, whatever. I mean, it takes away. What they did was, instead of taking the long road, the hike up the mountain to achieve the most rewards, they took the shortest route. They circumvented all of the rewards that they could have gained as a human by just the quickest way. Can I put these antlers on my wall so I can brag about it? And they missed all of the benefits of becoming a true.
David, I really understand what you're saying, and I agree. On the other hand, they are still hunters. You know what?
Well, I call them killers.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, I agree. But on the other hand, hunters are so an endangered species, so we have to stick together. And if you or I or Armin decides to hunt with a bow, and the other guy with a crossbow, and the other with a muzzle loader, and the third guy with a high-powered scope rifle, we're still hunters. And it's the same with shooters. The black powder shooters say, oh, that Glock shooters are not shooters, and the Glock shooters say, oh no, these black powder guys are not shooters, and so on. So that's what they like us. They like to separate us. And I understand and I agree what you're saying, but don't discriminate a rifle hunter, or they are kind of pervert habits and so on. No question about it. And I think in Texas there are that kind of cyber hunts. You can hunt with a camera and a rifle, and you're sitting at home and you're at home and at your laptop, and you can just push a button and shoot an antelope in Texas in a fenced area and so on. That's pervert, no question about it. But
it's still hunting.
But still, but no, that's not hunting. But you understand what I mean. You understand?
I understand. I agree with you. And I technically they're hunters, but I guess my point, I'm not discriminating against anyone. If you're a hunter and you're feeding your family, however you want to do it, great. But one thing that they're missing out on is passing on the knowledge and legacy that they could from our forefathers, from our ancestors, on how to really hunt without modern technology. Because if you take these hunters today,
I understand you, but where's the edge? Where's the border? You could say hunting is.
We only throw stones because we didn't have bow and arrow.
It's difficult.
Well, learn how to do it the real way, and then use whatever modern technology you want just to get the job done. Because I think that's something that you can't pass on. My kids, we know how to go in the woods and track animals, and we can be dropped off. I've tested it. I can get dropped off anywhere in the country, and I can find game, and I know how to hunt them. I know how to track them, and I know how to kill them. I know how to make my own gear too if they drop me anywhere in the wilderness. And most people today
have no idea.
And I know a lot of hunters who stepped back. They hunted with high scoped rifles and so on, and stepped back to muzzle loaders or to pistol hunting or bow hunting and so on.
If they take our technology away, let's say there's something that requires an SHTF moment, right? And we don't have technology, we don't have internet, we don't have Wi-Fi, we don't have trail cameras, we don't have mobile devices, we don't have scent control, we don't have any of these things. Then bullets and guns are taken away from us, are not allowed to be used anymore. Which is the same, and which is, it's quite common in other places.
I'd say because we talked about Rambo, I'd say the peak of hunting skill is if you would be able to kill a wild boar with a knife. So it's far more closer to the far more skill or so if you kill it with a bow, and so you can play this game up to 200 meters, with a rifle and so on. So of course, this is for me also, that's the goal. I always had the idea I like to spear hunt. You see my spears here on the wall. I love the idea. I did it once with wild boars and so, and it's a nice experience. And you're very close to the game, to the deer, to the prey. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way, when I hunt, that's it. It's got to be close. I just like to learn everything.
It has to be bloody.
I don't. There's two different, schools of thought. There's ones that like to be distance and challenge themselves at how far they can be, whether it be with a bow or a gun. But me, I want to learn. I want to get as close as I can, So I mean, I got to the point where I could be in the same area, the size of this room, and have deer walking around me, and they didn't know I was there, and I didn't use any modern technology.
And I think that for me, this is hunting, to know how you can get close to your prey. This is for me hunting, that you really get close, and then you have whatever weapon you have, an ethical kill, kind of, that you don't, whatever, fire an English longbow from 100 meters and hope to kill the deer over there. So for me, this is hunting, that you really go close, and then you make whatever weapon you have. For me,
yeah,
I'm not a hunter.
That was what I wanted to achieve, and I achieved it many times over. And then it kind of lost it also lost its flavor for me. It's like, all right, I did the ultimate with my primitive weapon that I made, my bows and arrows that I made, and I got close to the game. I got to where they were walking around me and didn't know I was there. I spent weeks in the woods, and so now, archery has it's taken me on this awesome journey. So it's surpassed. I'm gonna get hung up on just hunting, because there's so much more to the bow and arrow. And so I moved on, and it's brought me full circle back to martial arts. It's brought me back. It's taught me so much about myself. I see how it's helped me over the years. I mean, it gave me a business. It gave me a new way of living, and it's got me in good shape. It's got me mentally solid, mentally and spiritually solid. And I see what it does for others, because especially kids, I from time to time I volunteer to help underprivileged children, and I teach them archery, and I just see their faces light up. And these are usually children that are emotionally stressed, and they don't have self-confidence. They don't have anything they can do as a single person. Like they're not really team oriented yet. They don't want to be around others. So if they have something that they can do by themselves and feel confidence and build confidence, archery just has a lot of benefits for people. And I know you've probably figured that out too, Armin.
Yeah. Took a while, but
so much beyond hunting.
Nice, really nice. Yeah,
I really would like to say, it's not just archery, it's what we're talking about. And some connecting archery going back to nature. And not in every case this is true, because some people have a very, confused view of nature and archery and so on, confused. And what I also wanted to add is, Dave, you are so happy that you can live in this land in Kentucky, in the United States, where you are able to do this, where you're able to own guns and rifles and bows and every shit you like. We are so fucked up here in Europe. We can do nothing. Here hunting is from the last or the last century. Only the aristocrats, only the nobles were allowed to hunt. So here hunting has a very bad taste, because only the earls and the lords were allowed to hunt. And so if here around is some guy saying, I love to hunt, oh yeah, you're one of these. And so in the United States it's very different.
Yeah, sure is.
I know it because I was there. You pay close to nothing for a license for a whitetail. You can fill your freezer. You can go out and hunt with a bow or crossbow or rifle, everything you want. and you're so much closer to nature than we are in Europe, and that's wonderful. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I am blessed with my situation, and you know, it's a choice that I made. When to move here, I left the big city life. I left a high-paying job in corporate America in New York City. I lived in New York City, of all places.
Oh yeah. Oh God.
I left there in 2006, and had a short stint in Florida, and I decided that place was terrible for me too. And then I moved to Kentucky, which I had never been before, but my wife was from Ohio, and Kentucky's right next to Ohio. So she had come here fishing with her father, like usually every other summer. So they had an idea, and I said, let's check it out. And I fell in love with it. So it brought me back to my childhood years when we lived in the country. And because I only lived in the country in New Jersey, I only lived there for 2 years. Okay. So I had 2 years of Rambo action, and that was it. And then it was taken away from me. And then I was thrown into a city.
Planted. Yeah.
It never left me, you know?
Yeah.
2 years was enough. It did me in. So,
but anyway, can I ask you quickly? Can I ask you quickly a question? But you said you started when you were a kid. Did you ever have a teacher, or did you learn to shoot by yourself, or looking at others, or how was this?
Yeah, good question. So, no, I didn't have a teacher. You know, I didn't have a library close to me except the school library. And you know, when I was at school, I was just doing schoolwork. And then when I was home, I was messing around in the woods. So when I could buy books, I bought books, but there was no archery or bow building books back then. There was no YouTube. You know, there was nothing on TV about it. So there was nothing, you know, archery wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
I was the only one in the family, and I'm still the only one in my entire family that ever did archery. My grandmother, you just reminded me. So my grandmother, which is from Ecuador, she bought me a Ecuadorian, she brought back a bow and some arrows and a quiver and some arrow tips. She gave the bow to my cousin. I was so mad about that. And she gave me a quiver and some of the arrow tips and a knife. So I like the knife, and she gave me some leather sheaths that were really nicely made from Ecuador. So, which I have some of it here, but it's palm wood, really dense wood. But anyway, so I had that as a kid. And so I really had the interest, but I had no teacher. No one in my family ever did it. So I started just making little sapling bows and little arrows out of twigs. And I shot pinch draw when I was a kid.
Did you have the arrow on the left or the right side?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I think probably both. Who knows?
Yeah. Because the thing is, when you have a kid and they never had a bow in his hand, you don't say anything. They put the arrow on the right side and they pinch draw.
Yeah.
Everyone. That's
what I see every time. Every time I teach them.
This is the way how it's in us. Yeah. Then you need to tell them, no, look, the arrow on the other side and 3 fingers and blah blah blah.
There are even adults shooting with pinch draw with the thumb or so.
No, really? Thumb shooters.
I heard about it. Thumpers. Thumper people.
You know, we had this last time. When it's efficiency, when I can achieve everything with 1 finger, why should I use 3?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you know. That's fine. Okay, now I only wanted to know how you got, or if you had a teacher, because same here. I didn't have anyone. I had then a few friends that did archery, and I visited them and then looked at them. And simply by looking and copying, I figured, okay, they shoot like this. And then I did it like this, made every mistake possibly you can do. Wrong shoulder, whatever positions, but you figure it out. Sure, yeah. You figure it out after a while.
Oh yeah. I was able to shoot squirrels and chipmunks out of the trees, you know, eventually with my homemade little boats.
Exactly. It's all what matters.
Yeah, I was the only one that did it. You know, we lived out there in a rural area, not as I'm out in the sticks now. I'm out in the middle of nowhere now. But when I lived with my parents when I was a kid, I was ages 9 to 11. It was pretty rural, you know, a lot of space between us. And there was nobody that did archery. Not a single soul that I knew when I was a kid. And that's there, you know. And then when I moved to Florida, I found people doing archery, but by then they were doing compound bows, and I didn't want really. I looked at it like, that's not a bow.
And then
but Rambo used it.
yeah, Rambo
He
had a
did. I
compound,
know.
But even he went back to basics. In the last blood, he shoots a nice recurve and he kills the last one. So it's fine.
But you know, Dave, when I started archery, it was in 1990. My first bow was a Jennings compound bow, but I shot it instinctively. I had no sight, and I shot it from the shelf. I just shoot it like a traditional bow.
Right. That's probably the way I do it too. If I had to use one.
Yeah, nice.
It's not a bad device, of course not.
Yeah, I started with this one too. Long 40 years ago. Yeah.
And you know, Dave, it was also because of the Rambo craze, because some of my friends, when the Rambo movies came out, they went to the hunting store and they bought the compound bow.
Of course.
And of course,
exploding tips.
Everybody asked for the exploding tips, of course.
Yeah. And they weren't prepared for archery, so they tried and said, "Oh, that's a shit device," and so they sold it. And one guy had one. This was a wonderful. It was a Jennings T-Star 2. It was, you could screw that bow from 35 to 70 pounds, change the draw weight and so on. Wonderful bow. So I got it very cheap because this guy was a Rambo guy, and it, oh, that's shit, I can't hit anything. So, oh, I like to have this bow. So,
So 8 years ago, you had this idea then that you start building bows again. Dave.
Yeah. And I got, it was all about for hunting. And then I didn't hunt for like a year and a half because I got so entranced into bow making. I just got so like involved in it. You know, I made 30 or 40 bows in the first couple of months. I was just going crazy. I was just cutting trees down and making everything I could imagine, and really honing in on what I guess was the ultimate tool for me. It was going to be I started with an English longbow and then quickly started shortening things, you know, shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and faster and more curves. And then, you know, that's through several hundred bows, landed on one of my designs, and then just kind of took it off from there. And it was just, it was bow making was my new, hunting took a back seat and bow making was my new thing for a while until I had something I was confident with that I could go and, you know, make it happen.
And what is your favorite, or what is your style which works now best for you? You have one hanging there?
What?
You have one hanging there?
Yeah. This is the first one that I'm gonna knock stuff down. Let me get it.
Dun, dun, dun.
This one's my oldest. This is I guess 7-8 years old. It's just bamboo. And it's got the Sias.
Okay.
The handle. It's got leather wrapped here, but it's wrapped underneath there. And this is the first one I harvested a deer with. Yeah, it's just really crude and simple. You know, after the prototyping, they were really crude, and that's just still kind of crude. And but then I went on to sinew backing them. But really short, nimble, agile bows, because I hunt in thick stuff and I like to be able to move and not make a lot of noise and not alert the game. And you know, so and then I moved on to my sinew composites, which this is probably
Sinew backed wood bow.
Sinew back bamboo.
Sinew back bamboo. Cool.
So it's just maple, sinew.
Nice.
Bamboo and maple, and then
looking good. Yeah.
So these are just, you know.
And as a hunter, you don't have a problem to get sinew, so it's fine.
Right. Yeah.
Or you process your own sinew, then what you get from your deers or something. Or...
I did for my personal stuff, but when I started selling them, when I started the business, you know, I had to buy it, I had to source it.
Okay.
Not killing that many animals.
I got a question, Dave. So
Yep.
what I see with this on the at these two bows is with the Sias and so on, and that's not very typically indigenous or Native American. That's more Asiatic.
Right. And
Okay.
that's, you know, I kind of just through process elimination, through my design experimentation, I came up with the idea that if I'm gonna have a short bow, for it to be comfortable to shoot and fast, I needed recurves. I needed static recurves, and that's where the SIA came into play. And you know, these are essentially just from an engineering standpoint, these are just a lever bow. These are mechanical advantage levers. And it sweetens the draw cycle. It gives you more speed. It gives you early string energy. It gives you a lot of power and finesse. So, you know, if you take a bow like this, right, this, even these, I can't stop myself. I have to still give a little bit of a recurve because it just makes it so much of a better.
But aren't these last bow, these two you showed us, aren't these faster than the Sia bows?
No. So this is like what an indigenous, like a Comanche style, you know, Plains Indian bow would have, Apache Comanche. And this is similar too, but these are not faster than the design that I made. Now I love all of these the same. I could be able to, you know, these are all short, they're fast enough. You know, I mean, this worked perfect.
What I like to say is I always have the idea, or I'm kind of sure about, that these big Sias adding a lot of weight to the limb.
There's a way that you have to work with the mass. So, you know, mass meaning physical weight, you have to be able to finesse that out of the system where it's not necessary. So there are a lot of people overbuild their bows. A lot of people have bow designs that don't have a lot of taper to their limbs. They'll be very parallel, very heavy out here.
But you still have that big weight on the tips. What is the Sia?
Yeah. That comes into play depending on what wood species you use and how you make it. So this is very aerodynamic, and these are overbuilt for my taste. This is a customer's bow. So, you know, mine are even thinner than this when I use on my bows. But this weighs literally nothing. And it's aerodynamic. It's built for strength and speed. So you literally feel nothing when you shoot these. You know, there's no weight out there.
So it's just a longer limb with a lever, let's say.
Yeah.
Like
if I was to take the bamboo and lengthen it to the length of these Sias and bend it,
I understand.
It would be heavier
it's just like turned bamboo. It's just like if you turned the limb.
Yeah, it would be, the bamboo would be heavier and it would be wider.
That.
So it would have
I understand that.
aerodynamics.
Yeah.
And that's why they perform just better. Now, this is a discussion I have with Peter all the time, because Peter thinks
than what?
Best built American.
No,
Can I talk now?
Okay.
That the American semi longbow, like the hill style bow, is the Formula One, because it's only handle and only the limbs very thin. And when you see the tips are smaller than my finger for a 70-pound bow, and this needs to be the best maximum performance bow. But then you have all these Asiatic Sia bows, and they perform at least the same or better. Also, that, I mean, you choose the Sia design for speed and for finesse, and because they are shorter, easier to maneuver in the woods.
Yeah.
I'd say the advantage is the shorter bow, no question about it. You're getting more out of a shorter limb. That's true. If you have a sophisticated kind of shape or, you know, but there's a second thing, and I like to ask you, David, about it. Armin says the longer the draw is, the longer the contact with the string, with the arrow is, and so the better the performance is. And I say, okay, if I draw 26 inches and I have my, you know, 55 or 70 or whatever poundage you have, and I release the arrow, I have the same power, because if the bow is built for my draw length, for optimum performance. It doesn't matter if I draw it 32 inches or 28 or 26. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's correct.
Danke.
And I've
Thank you.
I've experimented with that.
Thank you.
I've experimented with that because my draw length is only about if I'm being honest with myself, when I'm shooting just being natural, my draw length is right around 26 inches. I can shoot and draw 28, 29, but 26 is mine. So as a bow builder, I make mine to perform at their peak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the design goes into making them perform at my peak of 26 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to get everything I can out of them. And I can make the same type of bow, you know, and they both perform nearly identical, but at different draw lengths. Now, if you took the same bow, if you took
That's the point, Armin. That's
bow,
the point.
if you take a glass laminate
a
bow,
good bow can make you the same performance for 26 inch or for 32 inch.
Yeah.
Because he builds the bow, so the bow will perform, will shoot as far as.
So Dave, it doesn't matter if the arrow is longer in contact with the string or not.
Oh yeah, it definitely helps. You know, and there's a lot of variables. So the bow is one thing, right? The bow is if the bow is made well, it's a device that can do its job, and it can do it better than you probably can make it do, right? In your hands, because we're humans, so we impart error on the string, on the arrow, on the bow. So we all bring error to the table when we're shooting the bow, and we probably aren't getting the most that the bow can do.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, if you have the one bow and it's able to draw further because it's a fiberglass composite bow like the other ones that I make, the more modern material ones, they can be overdrawn with not being destroyed. You know, these primitive bows are made to a certain draw length parameter. So if you took the same bow, you're going to have more energy behind it, of course. So a longer draw stroke will get more speed out of it. It just depends on your arrow design as well. But if you have two bows and one can be made, now they're not going to be identical, but they're going to be very close. You know, if you want something that shoots over 180 feet per second, you know, a bowyer can make that happen at 26 inches and at 32 inches.
Of course.
It just depends on, you know, and with the same poundage. Now, yes, you have, with a longer draw length, you do have the opportunity to see greater power stroke. And that's why I have short brace heights on all my bows, because I may have only a 26-inch draw length, but if I can shorten the brace height and still get to absolute performance out of it, then I'll have a longer power stroke that might be like a 28-inch power stroke where someone has 6 or 7 or 8-inch, you know, brace height. The longer the draw length, the longer the arrow, so it's going to be a heavier arrow. So there's a lot of things that come into play there, but there's a lot of people that one thing I find when I make bows is they don't know their actual draw length, and they think they're shooting a 50-pound bow because it says 50 pounds at 28 inches. But when I measure their draw length in real time, it's like 23, 24, 25. I have a 35-pound bow.
I have one here. He came on. Oh, look, I have now a 50-pound. I shoot a 50-pound recurve bow, but he is a small guy and it draws maybe 24 or 5 inches. I said, yeah, it's fine. 50-pound, yeah, it's fine. Of course,
And they'll complain about the bow, you know, so they won't get that. They're not getting the absolute out of that bow because they're not drawing it to what it's made to be.
Obviously.
And you know what? Most of these Asiatic fanboys, thumb throwers and so on, they shoot carbon arrows, very light carbon arrows.
No, it depends on the bow.
No.
Of course, it depends on the bow. With
I'm watching all.
Look, on a Korean bow or a Turkish bow, short bows, short reflex bows, you can shoot lightweight arrows. But when you shoot a Manchu bow,
but why they are shooting carbon arrows? They are so traditional. They're shooting with their thumb and everything. Why are they shooting carbon arrows? They should shoot a nice, well-made wooden or bamboo arrow, and then they would see what their bows are doing, what their bows are, how they bows.
But even the Koreans shoot originally bamboo arrows, but they're relatively light bamboo. and it's still working for them, but they are light. So, and when you shoot a Manchu bow, you need 12, 15 grams per pound. Of course, you get something heavier. Where's the problem? I don't see the problem in it.
I don't deny. Like I have one of these Korean, that's Kaya bows.
Yeah. But you never drew it 31 inches. That's why I don't know the performance of the bow.
No, I know this bow is performing very nice.
Yes.
But I can't shoot with that draw. I have to anchor at my
Exactly.
no problem.
Yeah, I come to Austria and I show you something.
Of course I can. Yeah. Of course.
Always. Dave, say something.
Of course these bows are built to perform best with a 30-inch draw or something.
Of course.
No problem. But I could build, not I, but a good bowyer could build the very same bow which has the same performance at 27-inch draw. Is this true, Dave, or not?
Yeah, I mean, you can get very close.
Okay.
I mean, it'll be,
Okay. So that long draw has no advantage.
But he just said so that you get a longer power stroke, and a longer power stroke is more beneficial.
And Dave is now saying it's not a big difference. If a good bowyer makes you a good bow exactly to your draw length,
yes,
then the bow will have close to the same output, same performance.
Yes, not the same.
Yeah, and in warfare, what his friends, this war guys say, oh, in warfare we have to. That's not true. If you have close to the same power and performance and everything, it's not about drawing 4 inches longer and having no contact to your face, but you have the arrow under your right eye and you really hit something.
But you see that the Koreans shoot 145 meters and they hit their target, right? But they draw behind the ear.
That's true. That's true.
And
but they do it for thousands
longer and they still hit their target. It's a matter of practice.
Yeah.
Or when you see pinch draw now with a Native American bow, you pinch draw with 22 inches.
I get it, but the argument cannot be that the longer draw makes a better performance, because a good bowyer is able to make a bow with a shorter draw.
Can I quickly change? Imagine you need to push your car away. Okay, you are the same guy in the same car on the same surface. One time you push your car 5 meters and let it roll, and the other time you push your car 10 meters and let it roll. Which car will roll longer?
No, you forget. You forgot.
Hilarious. I give up. No, I don't want to discuss it. So Dave, let's talk about your book, Dave. Dave, what's your book?
You forgot physics, because
no, I didn't. This is physics.
The car of the 3-meter pusher is better built than the car of
the same car.
The same
and
car.
The same pusher and the same.
But it's not the same bow. But it's not the same bow. If Dave is able to build me a bow for 26-inch draw with a heavy arrow, hunting arrow, will perform like the same if you draw it 32 inches and he builds it for you for 32 inches. It's okay. It's the same performance.
Not
but
better.
The longer
power stroke.
No, it's not better. No.
It's okay. Okay, fine. You are so right. Peter, you're so right.
How can a compound bow work better than any traditional bow with a short draw?
Completely different.
Okay.
How can, and then we don't talk about knife throwing now, because this is the same. It's a technique. It depends.
I think in different contexts, both are correct.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you. You are such a diplomat here.
Yeah, you're a diplomat.
So untypical for a guy from down there. Nice. I like that. No.
Yes, I agree, maybe, but you can say this is the superior idea to draw an arrow.
This is what you think that we say. Nobody said that.
Oh, just look at all of your friends'
they
video
simply like
clips.
to draw longer because it's a nice experience. And once you draw a Manchu bow and draw back there, and you have this feeling, you might not want to go back to 28 or 6 inches.
Yeah. I think their argument is
I never have seen a good archer with this long draw.
they're getting more power out of their bow, you know, and that's what they want to do. So
because the bow is made like that.
Any bow. I mean, if they shoot it, if they draw it further, it's going to have more power. Sure.
Dave, you talked about overbuilding. If I have a bow, you know, it's not true with modern recurve bows. So bows, of course not, because you can't overdraw them. But if you have a wooden bow, and the bow is made for, let's say, 28 inches draw, maybe you can draw this bow 30 inches. But if you draw this bow 32, it should break. Otherwise, it's overbuilt.
Of course. Yeah. Even 30 inches is already overbuilt.
Yes, I agree. I think that argument, whether it's an argument or not, I think the point, you know, the thing, I think what people are saying about drawing longer is only brought up in the modern bow community. I think, you know, I don't know if that's a.
Thank you, David. I
don't know if it's a thing that, because I know a lot of bowyers that make primitive bows, and we can make them to whatever draw length. They're all good. You know, if you can make it perform well, you will at that draw length and whatever draw length it's designated for. You know.
But the bow needs to be built for this draw length. Of course, you don't build a bow which performs best at 28, and you can draw the bow 34, because then it's not built to perform best at 28.
And the Comanche killed buffalo with 22-inch draw length.
Of course.
So why I need 32?
Why not? Because I can.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a matter of choice.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
I'm happy that we have choices. Is this the same with the knife? Why do you have a small knife or a big knife? Because it's made different application or whatever. You like a big Rambo knife, I like a small folding knife. That's a job for me. What I have to do with it. It depends, but I don't say this one
for your CC, for your CC challenges.
For my cardboard box is to open fully enough. I don't need a Rambo knife, and you're not even allowed to have one here, so it's fine. I mean, you can have it, but you can't wear it. So it's stupid. But back to your book, Dave. You want to write a book?
I need my Rambo knife.
Is that your concealed carry, Peter?
Pardon?
Is that your concealed carry choice?
Yes.
Then the girls always say, "Are you happy to see me?"
for sophisticated operations.
Sophisticated.
Right. Stealth operations.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Cool. So be done. Good. Bow discussion be ended. Is you finally finished? Good.
So let's talk about arrows.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I shot directly when I got from Faber now the bow, and I shot my first. The third arrow was directly Robin Hood. I need a few of these knocks now.
These aluminum arrows are nice, no?
Yeah, they're really good. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. You got the heavy 200 grain points?
Yes, and 125 grain points.
Wow.
Yeah, but then there are 600 grain, and the bow is 48 pound at 28 inches, so really heavy. Really
heavy.
But it's a nice impact. No?
Yes. I shot a few with 125 too, so then they are 500, whatever, 30 grain. That's fine.
And the bow works well for you?
The bow, I only shot a few because the glove didn't work, and my 3 fingers are not used to shoot anymore.
But so it looks very elegant. And how is the handle for you?
It's the archer, who makes it elegant.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Of course, it doesn't matter which bow I have in my hands. Only with a Yumi, I can't shoot a Yumi.
You don't look like a clown even with a Yumi.
Of course not. I still look kind of decent, I know.
Dave, because we talked about a little about arrow points, what broadheads do you use when hunting whitetail or your game there over in Kentucky?
I make my own. I started with stone. Started with glass actually, and then moved on to obsidian, and then flint, and then different types of flint and chert. I can't find that much around here, so I'm kind of like a survivalist and a self-reliant type person. So I wanted to look at what I would have around in great numbers. I always wanted to make. I wanted to make everything. And
you don't use steel broadheads so far.
I don't what?
Steel broadheads.
Yeah, so I moved on to steel, and that was stuff that I had. It was nails, spikes, metal, old saw blades. So I started making my own arrowheads out of that eventually because it was just more efficient for me as far as what I could find. If I wanted to make a lot of flint and obsidian arrowheads, I'd have to buy the materials. And when I set out on this journey, I was going to make everything from my surroundings, so that's kind of the way I went after it. And then
so some old steel stuff is easier available.
You can find it. In an emergency situation, a SHTF situation, I've got enough metal around to keep me busy for years, make thousands of broadheads,
and it's, I don't know if Armin knows it because he's more a kind of long draw guy. But if you're sitting around and you're sharpening your broadheads with a file and you're preparing the broadheads, you
just sharpened it.
Nice.
And you're thinking about, oh, this one will get a big deer. That's the same thing in the Stone Age. The guys thought on campfire when they sharpen it or knap their stone heads and that's again going really back to the roots because you're connected. You're thinking while you're sharpening.
This is a time where language was developed then, because the other guy was asking, what are you doing there, you idiot? They say, I nap because I want to make a knife. And you don't even know what a knife is. It's interesting, right?
It's what's Peter saying, I guess, all the preparation, and for me, building the equipment and preparation and then going on the stock, everything leading up to the kill is the best part about it.
Also the packing. If you're packing a little day pack or something, I put this one in and this and the knife and the second knife and and
always a purpose in mind.
So you're preparing for war, for combat, for hunting, so this is a step into adventure. And while you're packing, your brains is into the adventure, and so and that's we can get as pervert as we like, but that's in the hearts of the humans, in the hearts of men.
You're going back to your true human nature, and the worst part of the whole hunt is killing the animal, because nobody likes having to take a life, and it means the whole thing is over.
And all the bloody chop, nobody likes to dress it and so on. Nobody likes it, but
everything leading up to that point is what's fun about it, and what connects you with,
And you know what? Sometimes I think, in fact, people love this preparation and this, going to adventure and so on. And the modern people, they have it in movies or in kind of computer games or so. They don't, because you see it in the movie when Rambo sharpens his knife and, this guy is going on the warpath now. He will show his enemies what's going on and so on. Or also in the old Western movies, you see, oh, he's loading his gun. He's from the old chest. He's taking out his pistol belt, his rig, and then he goes into the main street and he prepares for adventure, for a fight. And we see it in the movies and in games. And today's people are so perverted. They satisfied with just seeing it, and they kind of feel it by seeing it. But that's a fake impression. That's a fake feeling, because you have to really feel it, in my opinion.
But when you can't go hunt, what can you do in Europe? You can't go hunting. That's why. But look at all the 3D parkours we have, and look at the people running around there.
And look at the targets they have.
They are prepped like, you know, they are in camouflage, and they have their belts
big
and
knives,
and
yeah,
everything, and knives and what have you, and water bottles, and they are equipped for, they do as close as possible. Looks a little hilarious because they only shoot at foam targets, but still.
Because they also have an umbrella on their backpack and
Would
so
rain,
on.
you know. Of course.
You know, when I was kind of in the first wave of, you know, this that 3D shooting came over from the United States. All these Mackenzie targets were just made for training, for hunting training, for shooting down a tree stand at the rubber Mackenzie or Delta. I think Mackenzie were the first. And we had a quiver, a bow, an arm guard, a glove, maybe a kind of small banana thing, and a knife, and and a liquor flask, maybe. And that was it. And nowadays they go with a backpack, with a water bottle, with an umbrella, and a little chair, and I don't know, and the sun hat, and this and that. So it's kind of perverted too.
What can we do?
Yeah. We also have to fight on like the last samurais.
You simply lead by showing them how you do it as a role model. Some will follow, some not.
Yes.
Yeah. Can't force them to do things.
But even you don't believe me. I mean, what should I do?
I believe you so much. This is I'm a total believer. I have here already a Bowman shrine now, and every morning I go there to put my incense sticks and pray to the god Peter. Let the weather be nice, and you know, let me hit my arrow,
big guru.
When I don't hit the target, I blame, of course, god Peter, because he didn't pay attention.
You didn't, how is it called?
I don't know.
Opfern, how is it called?
Sacrifice.
Enough.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't find that many virgins here anymore, can I do my best? Joking, Dave, we're joking.
Dave, are you watching our podcasts?
Yeah, I've watched a few, and I haven't had a lot of time to catch up on all of them, but I have watched a few of them.
You like them?
James, I know you had James Jean on there. He's one of my buddies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
he's an amazing guy.
Crazy
wow.
guy. Yeah.
Wow.
An amazing archer too. Yeah, he worked with me. He came to one of my events and did on a shooting exhibition for us and for all my students. It was really cool.
Wow.
So,
nice.
He's a good dude.
You know, when I found him, I posted in Facebook on, I think, a Howard Hill fan group or so. I said, "Goodbye, Byron Ferguson. Goodbye, Howard Hill." This is the new guy.
Yeah, he took it to another level. Yeah.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Such a nice guy, and
very clever guy, nice guy. Wow, we enjoyed him here. We will have him again, I'm sure.
Of course.
He deserves all the spotlight and rewards, you know, that's coming to him for what he's done, all of the work he's put in. That's for sure.
And you know, we talked about before, Armin and me, he should go to television to, you know, because nobody's able to do things like he does. In my opinion.
He's been on a few TV shows, but I mean, he's on some pretty good ones. I mean, I think Possible Shots is a pretty good one in the US.
Yeah. But Byron Ferguson was also on that show.
But what Peter meant is that he has his own show, so to say, that he builds up a 30-minute show with a storyline, and that he goes there and shoots. We know that, like Byron Ferguson, you know, has a complete show set.
Also, definitely good.
Also television, I mean, because they pay. They pay too. And you know, if you have such abilities like James Jean has, you have to market it, because that's
he does it his way. Maybe he's happy with his TikTok and Instagram and gets enough sponsorship through this.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm sure, and he gets a lot of money from YouTube and so on. I think I'm sure he's doing well.
Mm.
Yeah.
He does what
And
he
he's so amazing. He changes the bow hand, he's turning, he's just talking and shooting and so on. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's great.
Good.
Yeah.
Should we talk now about your book, Dave? I start now the fifth time, I think, asking
Oh,
about
it's we don't need to. I mean,
yes, no, but I'm interested. When you want to write a book, I'm always interested what your thoughts are, why you think you write it as a book, or what is the content, or what will the content be?
You have a book,
yeah,
or you plan to write a book, or you have a book?
I plan to finish a book. I've already started it.
Okay.
I don't want to say what the title is yet. It's not, it's
Okay.
I don't want to say it's close to being done, but it's something that's just going to be about the context going to be about my journey through archery.
Okay.
And some controversial stuff that, I found through experimentation. I know there's a lot of people that have their thought about archery, and I like to call them like armchair archers, and they're not like an armchair quarterback. They can talk a lot about what they've researched and read in other books or read about other people doing it, or what they think is possible and versus what they see. And so I want to cover some of those topics, and then I want to talk about bow design and stuff like that. Mainly, it's going to be kind of like a story of my archery journey, and along the way, we're going to talk about a few things that have intrigued me and interested me. That the rabbit holes that I went down. With archery and kind of.
That's nice. That's nice. Sounds good. Sounds really good.
Definitely interesting. Yeah.
A couple of topics. I wrote down some stuff. Well, I just moved it over, but it's kind of, it fits some of the things we were bringing up. They're like scenarios, like survival scenarios, hunting scenarios, and combat scenarios, and how archery play in those things. A lot of people have their thoughts about them. I have my thoughts about them too, and it's kind of interesting when I hear other people's thoughts about,
and
especially
Dave, as worse the times are get, people think a lot about more prepping and this kind of zombie apocalypse scenarios and so on, and so of course a bow is not the best weapon around, but it's still a weapon.
It's a weapon, and it's a distance weapon at least.
An available weapon.
It provides some reach. It gives you some distance between you and your attacker or your adversary. And it's a force multiplier as well. So
and it's not a limited weapon, so everybody can have it. And
you can make it relatively easily by yourself.
Yeah. I'll read you guys some stuff if you want, but before I forget, I want to mention to you, Armin, someone that you might want to have on is my best friend, Steve Heath, and he's a martial artist. He's a lifelong martial artist, and he was a pro fighter in the MMA circuit for like 10 years. But he's an excellent archer, and he's a fan of yours. He can shoot many different styles, and he's just a really interesting guy to talk to, especially about combat related stuff, because he's had a really lot of real life experience with.
I never knew Armin also has fans on followers.
No, I don't have fans. No. I only got a few now because you are in this podcast, Peter. Otherwise,
of course.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure.
The Bowman rules, of course. Yeah.
But he's taught me quite a bit. So martial arts, I used to study a few different styles, and then I've been studying under him in self-defense and just real life stuff for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And he developed a self-defense tool. He's developed a whole self-defense system. So he's super interesting and a super dangerous guy that,
we will have him on. If he agrees, we will have him on.
Of course.
Yeah, I'll email you his information.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. But so, all right, so I'm going to read to you scenarios. And a lot of this stuff has made me want to talk about it in the book because, like, especially when I did the Comanche, most people loved it. And I had a lot of people emailing me questions that are kind of similar to what I got for a long time with my horse bows. But with the Comanche bows, they were like, can I really kill something with it? And, that question just really, it bothers me because, you look at just the Comanche or the Plains Indian or, any group like that not only survived, but they thrived.
Yep.
Something as simple as this.
Mm-hmm.
How could anyone ask that question,
David, one question about it. I think the Comanches were mostly present in New Mexico and in Texas and also Mexico. So they are not in Kentucky or so. So you studied the Comanche style?
That was because of Lars Anderson. He emailed me and he sent me the podcast that Joe Rogan did and mentioned Lars, that he was talking to S.E. Gwynn, the author of Empire of the Summer Moon, with Quantum the Comanche.
There was a nice, I don't remember the name, but I saw this podcast where a guy was on Joe Rogan's show who wrote a book about the Comanches.
That's him.
They were the best riders and the best archers, kind of trick archers and so on. Right. Yeah, it was a nice podcast. I'm a fan of Joe Rogan.
Yeah, me too. So that was and I saw it, and Lars emailed me and sent me that podcast because in that podcast they mentioned him and they brought up some of Lars' videos and they said, the author was saying how amazing they were. And Joe brought up Lars Anderson and said, well, we don't even know because, the motion picture was not invented yet, but the only person we have that could probably pull it off is Lars Anderson. So then he and I started talking and he sent me some videos and I would send him what I thought was a Comanche bow because I had made Native American bows when I first started making bows. And I sent him some of the stuff that I had made and we kind of did a lot of research together. And, he sent me some videos through email for me to train on some of the process of holding the arrows and shooting them and everything. So it was like a 1.5-year project. And so that's what got me with Comanche. That's to answer your question. That's what got me onto Comanche. I was not there at all.
And Lars did a daredevil ride on this horse. I saw the video.
Yeah. He did it all. I mean, he had a spear, he had everything, shield, and the bows and the arrows. I made him all the arrows. I made him 2 bows.
But I didn't understand the problem with the knocking of the arrow, because if you would have a back quiver, you could knock it from the back quiver and shooting over the horse's back. I don't know.
No, it's not a problem. A lot of the natives would have back quivers, but it was more just for commuting. When they were actually in combat, their quivers were moved across their lap, and they would have arrows in their bow hand, and they would fire that way, and then they'd pull more out of the quiver and stuff them on there and use it that way. This way, they could have one hand free at all times. They had their arrows right here.
Yeah.
Reaching back was too much for them. And it made them a big target. They like to be as small as possible. And this way, when they maneuvered this way on the horse, the arrows were still here and still in their hands, and they had one hand free. And I took really well to that style because when I hunted, before I'd ever even dreamt about being Comanche style, when I would hunt with my bamboo bow, I always had arrows in my bow hand. And I had them with the broadhead up because I made a mistake first time going out with the broadhead down, and I cut my leg wide open when I was crawling under a bush. So I had the broadhead up where I could see it now. So for years I hunted like that with my arrows in my bow hand and one at the ready so I could shoot and then just quickly maneuver another one if I missed, which that happened quite a bit in the beginning. But if you're good enough, you can get 2 shots off on the same animal if you didn't.
Cool.
But yeah, that's what got me into the Comanche. Was all Lars. I mean, it was a great experience. It was right at the beginning of COVID, I guess.
I think so.
Yeah, it took like 6 months for everything to get to him. It had to go on. It had to go on a ship. I mean, it was like stuck at port forever. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was as long as Columbus needed to get to the Americas.
I was worried they were all going to be rotted and damaged and destroyed. I spent months making them, and it was awful. It was awful. But on that subject, so if you guys don't mind, I'd like to know your opinion on some of these topics.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
So scenario number one, and this isn't all, it's, you know, this is, it's going to be in my book, but it might be changed over time. But if you take, hypothetically, the best modern archer in the world goes hunting, right? He or she is well rested, well fed, heads out into the woods with basic knowledge of how to hunt, but really relies on their expert archery skills and modern technology to get the job done for them.
Mm.
So they use, you know, cameras, feeders, food plots, watering holes, scent cover up, invisible blinds, tree stands, machine calls, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
The trail camera can notify this hunter on their cell phone every time it takes a picture of a deer and has the time and the day listed. You know, it shows up basically when they need to make the kill. So they can just show up, you know, because they can pattern the animal. They can pattern it based on weather patterns, weather, wind, time of day, and because deer follow patterns. So, you know, with this camera and this technology, they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take this archer, hunter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I know that's going to make you angry, Peter, but if you take this archer and you drop them in the middle of nowhere in below freezing temperatures with no modern technology, and maybe their bow and an arrow, a quiver full of arrows, will they be able to survive on just their hunting skills that they have attained in the middle of nowhere? So that's a thought-provoking, you know, question.
Dave, I'd say some would, because if you know about wind direction, if you know about which tools you use to make your hunt easier, you even know what stuff is counting. That's my argument about this.
I agree, and that's, you know, there's a it's like a thought-provoking statement. So it's kind of just, I'm getting people to really think about, like, you know, maybe I need to up my skill set, and maybe I need to at least learn it once and do it bare minimum, you know, real,
because at least they understand what a hunting, or what is hunting about. At least they understand it if they use these tools. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. But there's a thing, if you're not out in the, you know, like when I'm out in the woods, when I'm hunting, I use nature to my advantage, and I use my eyes, I use all my senses, and they get heightened very big when you rely only on them. My hearing, sense of smell, my sense of feel.
I understand your point. I understand your point totally. But there would be some.
Oh yeah, there'd be some if they survive long enough.
Because they know what is going on.
Yeah, if they lived long enough, you know, if they were able to find water, shelter, there's a lot of things that go into play there.
First things first,
And not every primitive hunter, let's call it like that, not every primitive hunter is 100%, he would know how to find water.
Right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Just because you have a stone arrow point, you haven't been the best hunter. You must not be the best hunter.
And in my book, you know, it's going to lead up to this, so you'll have a better idea of like why I'm coming up with these scenarios. You'll have a better feel of the way I hunt and why I learned what I did. And then so you'll be able to. It'll be just scenario, thought-provoking statements that hopefully people will want to.
I understand it. You like to illustrate the difference and what is really counting and what is hunting about.
I want people to, I want them to want more. I want them to dig deeper into their human abilities, you know, and that's what I want when I teach people, is I want them to have all that natural ability.
To go to the real edge.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I understand.
And I agree. How can you know where your limits are when you never stepped over it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's the way I started, was just, I didn't know anything. I went out there and learned by trial and error, you know, without modern technology. It got
my point,
just like our answer.
My point was this, if I dare to say it, don't try to judge modern hunters or you know, because they're very good sportsmen around them, and very good outdoorsmen around all these modern hunters too.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's not more, it's not a judging, it's more of a intriguing everyone that has ever thought about being more self-reliant.
Exactly. This is the point. It can, even as a modern hunter, it can happen. You never know. You lose your track, you fall somewhere over, you lose your group, whatever, and you get stuck somewhere, and then you need to know what you do.
Exactly.
First, first you need air, then you need to be kept warm, then you need water. Later on, you need food. Is the fourth thing in the row.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, but I have to say, there was an Austrian big game hunter. He used to go to the Congo or Cameroons and so in the 1920s and 30s. And he was an Austrian guy, and I read a lot of books he wrote. He wrote some 10 books or so. And once they followed a group of pavians, apes in the jungles. And he is a nice rifle, and he was a really experienced outdoorsman, hunter, and everything. And they were in the middle of the jungle, I think in the Congo or somewhere, and they nearly starved to death because the jungle was so dense. He wrote, if every animal was an advantage to see or smell them first. So he had a nice rifle and all the experience of the big game and worldwide hunter, and he had no chance. By accident, they survived. So a high-powered rifle, every experienced hunter, it can happen to these guys, and also, of course, to a primitive hunter.
Yeah, it can happen to anyone.
It means nothing. Yeah, you
right.
can get in an environment where you have no chance.
That's why I want to open people's minds to that.
But I guess, but when you're into this, I don't know how you call it, native hunting or whatever, you have more this already connection or more this thought processes going on in your mind. I think when you're a modern hunter and you rely on all your gizmos, you don't think about this maybe that much. So I guess to be prepared, the native hunter is a little more prepared out there as the modern hunter who gets with his 4x4 almost there. Then he walks only an hour and whatever in the group, everything is organized and he doesn't. How did you prepare yourself for your hunt, Peter, when you went to America? Did you think about the survival situation? Did you prepare for it?
No, on the survival situation, I think in a small, how you call it, in a small measuring. So of course I have my day pack with a kind of little first aid and some corn bars and a bottle and maybe a pistol or I don't know, but I don't think about the real survival situation because I know my friends are around or you could get. But when I was hunting in Idaho in the Sawtooth Mountains, you couldn't do one step without the GPS because you got lost there. I walked alone, I hunted alone. So when I fell down the kind of cliff or something, when my friends would recognize, oh, where is Peter and where has he gone to? I would be dead. So you're and you know it better than we, of course, David. If you're walking really into the wilderness, you're facing death with every step. And it's not about bears or wolves or just breaking your leg and laying there and you're done. Till they find you, till they find out where you are, you're dead. And in that, but you can't think always that negative. You have to challenge it. You have to do it. You
go prepared. You try to prepare yourself.
Go prepared.
That's
you know, we were 5 days hunting out there for black bears and for blacktail. And in the first day, the American guys gave me a 10mm pistol, and I took it with me all the day hunting. And then on the second day, you know, my back hurt because the pistol was so heavy. And I said, okay, is it, no, you won't face a black bear until maybe if the black bear has his face in a tree stump and looking for worms and something, and you surprise him, maybe. But that's a kind of, if you're winning in the lottery. So like in our countries, I mean, if you never will see a wild boar in nature.
Yeah.
They avoid you. You
Exactly.
never will see them.
Yeah.
And when I had this in mind, I said, okay, I don't take this pistol any longer with me. But yeah, if you have bad luck,
even if you break your leg and you can't move, at least you could shoot. Shot in the air, and the people could hear you and maybe find you.
Yeah.
Always be prepared, you know.
Don't
work harder, work smarter.
And, you know, hunting in the United States. I don't know if I don't know the places in Kentucky, but where I was there in Idaho, it was Mountain Village Stanley, and after this village, it was, I think, till Canada was nothing. As far as I know. So you are on your own.
But you relied on GPS only, or did you have at least a compass?
Just to find back to camp.
Yeah, but did you at least take a compass with you that you at least know the direction?
Yes. And they laughed at me because they said, look, Peter is checking the GPS with the compass if it's true. If it's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
you prepared, Peter. You accepted. Yeah, it's fine.
I had a compass with me.
Yes, he's a Bowman. What can you do, Dave? Right?
So sorry to interrupt you, Dave, but I think when we talk about hunting, it was worth saying.
No, that's my point. Though, is like I want people to have. I just want to perk their interest and open up their mind to. All right, maybe I am lacking in some areas, and I need to prepare better, or I need to keep this in mind, or I need to maybe learn that skill set. In case I don't have modern technology to do it for me, right? Because just like Armin said, if you didn't have that GPS, thankfully you had a compass, and thankfully it was working. How else would you return, right?
And there's, I have to interrupt again. There's one more
GPS
point.
Didn't work.
There's one. You know, the GPS didn't work because you have to go some steps till it zeroes in again. I like to say one more thing about it, and that's the big lie. All that politicians and all that I don't know, modern ideas tell you. They tell you you're living in a safe world. When you die, it's just kind of accident. It's not natural, and so on. And if you're making one step into the real wilderness, you, even in our countries, in Germany and Austria, you can die.
Yeah, of course.
And even if you go into a big city at some places, you can die. And the opposite is what the politicians and all these leftist fuckers tell you.
Right.
They say, no, you're safe. You have the police. They protect you. You don't need a gun because the policemen have a gun, and so on and so on. And you know, Dave, in our countries is worse. It's we have, you know, you can have guns.
It's a jungle everywhere. But I couldn't. I couldn't imagine what you guys.
And they deny. Let's say this: they deny humanity because a human is a predator. Some more, some less. But every human is able to do very bad things.
Bad in not bad things. It's we had this last time. What is bad? What is good?
If a guy is in the I don't know, in the Sahel zone, starving to death, and he kills you because he likes your food. Okay, is he bad or is he not? I don't know it. But you can get into that situation.
Of course.
And that's our world, like it was in the Stone Ages. And the politicians and all these motherfuckers like to tell you, oh no, we protect you. Everything is nice and fine and funny. Look at the clowns. Everything
latest in the demonstrations against this recent walrus, you know, we saw whom the police is protecting. You know, they beat down an old lady because she, you know, what the heck. So yeah, thank you. So, but of course you still can follow mainstream media, or you start thinking, critically thinking, and then you make your own decisions and you start living your life according to your own rules. As good
Dave,
as
Dave, I'm so sorry that we interrupt you, but you know.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's exactly, you know, what it's supposed to do. It's thought
provoking
provoking.
thoughts, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. That's which, you know, I have more, so they're going to be coming. But scenario
continue.
Give us more.
Scenario 2.
Give us more.
Same archer. Okay. Good at hitting a stationary target with his heavy poundage bow, his or her heavy poundage bow, you know, their hunting bow.
Yep.
Anytime they want, when they're well rested and in the mood to do it, you know?
Yep.
Right? So that's nothing that's anyone's gonna argue. If you went to McDonald's, you had your burger, you slept, you wake up, you ate breakfast, you're going to go shoot your heavy poundage bow and hit bullseyes, you could probably do it, right?
Yep.
So scenario 2 is take that same archer and now take them as, let's say they're hungry, they're exhausted, possibly malnourished, injured, sick, and having to go days looking for an animal, right? So in a survival situation, you're going to be weak. You're going to be emotionally weak, emotionally exhausted. You may not even be able to draw your bow back to full draw anymore, right?
So short draw.
Can you make your bow? Let's say, you know, you can't draw your bow back. Let's say you can't string it up, right? It's too strong. Can you make another means of hunting or self-protection, you know, if this archer finds himself? So I'm trying to paint a picture for modern, you know, what Peter was saying and you guys are saying, you know, they're creating weaker people, right? A weaker humanity. And that's where they have that mindset of just go out and buy this, do it, or don't do it, go to the grocery store. But instead, I want to open people's minds to the fact that, well, you're missing out on a lot of stuff that might be the difference between life or death someday for you, depending on what situation you find yourself in. Scenario 3, let's say the same archer has found himself or herself having to use their bow and arrows to defend themselves in an end of days situation, like a SHTA situation, right? All firearms have been taken away from law-abiding citizens.
From the communists.
Right.
By the
communists. They're left to their bows, crossbows, spears, knives, swords, you know, whatever they have left, right? Farming implements, whatever. The expert archer that can hit bullseyes all day long after a good night's rest and their juicy burger in his or her stomach, no problem at all. They can impress the entire archery range every time they go, right? Well, now their property is being raided by a group of non-law abiding citizens that would love to take their resources and possibly can this expert archer handle this battle? I doubt it. Why?
I personally don't think so, no.
But Dave, I interrupt you again. The experienced archer will still be more able to face these situations than you know.
But what means experience? Experience means that you, whatever, you wake up in the night at 2 o'clock, you grab your bow and arrow and you shoot.
Yeah, but you're still,
or you're hungry, or you're tired, or you have headaches, or you have slightly...
but you're still a shooter, and the other guy is just eating soya. Fuck.
It doesn't matter. I eat soya too, but I still can kill you. I don't even need a bow and arrow with it.
No. Right. But the archer is still a warrior. And there are lots of people.
The target archer is not a warrior.
He's a warrior compared to the soya eater.
Well, if the soya eater knows how to throw a knife,
then he's also a warrior. But there's so many people around.
Yes, but you know, the guys, they will in this situation, they will come to your house, they will get your food. They are not soya eaters. They are warriors by themselves.
I like to say it like that. Every guy with a pocket knife is a warrior compared to the soya boy.
Yes, but the soya boy will not invade you.
The soya boy will also invade you if he has nothing to eat.
Yeah, they will die directly. They don't invade.
Yeah,
sit in the
because you
corner
are
and
warrior.
"Oh, I
Die.
need now my psychologist because I have a.
They will die crying by
Yes.
their mommy's
They'll be the first to
chest.
go. Yeah.
And the others,
They'll
it
be
will be the
first to go.
motorbike gangs, they will hoard together and they will go out in the streets and in the neighborhood and say,
Like
let's
Mad
take this
Max.
street
Like
down.
Mad Max.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
So let me read the rest. Let me read the rest, and you guys can see. So this is my
Sorry.
thought. So,
Sorry.
no, that's fine. So that's exactly why. Once again, because they have never had to use those skills, right? So they do not train like it is life and death. So
Yeah.
how on earth could this archer ever achieve what a warrior did with his bow and arrow? They cannot. Warriors of the past lived and died by the bow.
Yeah.
This is the difference. We can pretend all we want and try our best, but we can never be as good as they were. Can we ever be as good as they were? I don't think so. Until we need to use the bow to survive, we will not see this type of ability.
Yep.
Right? Until you are sleep deprived, hungry, injured, and being chased and shot at by a human moving target, having to fight to the death with a bow and maybe a knife, you will not have that inner drive to be that good. So it's all about motivation. To what motivates us to shoot a bow? Well, if you go back to where the Comanches, if you just go back that far, which wasn't that far ago, that long ago, they had to live and die by this.
Yep.
So how good do you think they were? They were raided, and they fought with them. And this was before horses. They didn't have horses always, so they were always good with them.
Or think about today's Navy SEALs or so.
Exactly,
They get lead to their real edge to live or die and sit
That was
3
my
days.
next sentence.
Sorry.
You read my mind, Peter. Yeah, you read my mind. So think of it this way: special forces trained individuals that see real live fire and real battle, they're trained for it. Now take a civilian that has maybe they bought all the same gear that a Navy SEAL might have, right? And they train in their backyard and they think they're pretty darn good.
Yeah.
One against the other, who's gonna come out, right?
No chance. Yeah.
So that's my point. It's like you can train all you want, and does that make you a better warrior? Of course, because you got to do the best you can. But all of this leads up to hopefully giving people a idea of how much they're missing and what they need to kind of dig a little deeper and tap into a little bit more human skills of survival and preparedness and that kind of thing. Because are we civilians going to see live fire and real combat where we're fighting to the death? I hope not. But if we ever do, none of us are prepared for it that haven't been in combat forces.
That maybe Armin knows this sayer. I don't know if I can say it right. There's a kind of Asian thing where I think a master of these Japanese gardens, or I don't know how they call it.
Better
trains his student sword fighting, and the student says, "Why you train me sword fighting? I like to become a gardener."
Yeah. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Yeah. I only can tell from my own experience. It was when I moved to Mallorca, then my past was catching up very quickly, and I found myself sitting in my living room with a German guy and with a Turkish guy, and this Turkish guy had a gun. I had it already on my head, and I didn't know what to do. I'm very good at diplomatic in talking. And
because you fucked his wife, I'm sure.
And then they spent the whole night there waiting for the next day because they wanted then my bank account. Long story short. But
because you fucked their wife?
Peter, I just wanted to tell something serious now from my experience. It has nothing to do with fucking your wife. I wouldn't even touch it with my prongs. And then I was sitting there, and these two guys were falling asleep, or at least they had the eyes closed, and the other one had this pistol really like you see in the bad movies in the front in his belt. And I thought, I could reach it. I could technically reach it, and I could change this all to my benefit, but I didn't. I was sitting there, and I maybe had the chance to change this thing, but I didn't. Because my fear or whatever was bigger and it blocked me. I was just not able to move, sneak there, grab this gun, and then said, "So now, guys, fuck off." I didn't have
fight or flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there I saw my limits. So I realized, okay, this is how far I go.
That's the
Every
lack of the
situation.
training, what Dave says. Yeah, I agree.
And I knew. And that's why I say all these guys with the zombie apocalypse, let the zombie apocalypse really come. 95% of them will directly die. They have not the balls to do something against it.
And also we don't know, like you said,
Yeah,
Armin, we don't know
exactly.
how we would
Yeah.
react
Yep.
in this situation.
Exactly.
That's true. And that's what you have to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't think it, you can't prehend it, you can't wrap your head around a situation you are not in.
Yeah, but the difficult part is what Dave read, you can't go to war, you can't experience it, you can't train it, you can't train that scene. Yes, you can make a kind of role play and but it's not the same. It's not the same. It's like you going in the woods in Germany and Austria and going in the woods in Idaho. You can't train it before. You're still in the woods, but it's another thing. And
I only know already the adrenaline rush you get when you shoot with these combat arrows. We have, it's foam-tipped arrows. And you really do hardcore battle, and you're in it. Your adrenaline is really pumping because you get shot. You know that you get shot when you don't pay attention. So you have the 360 awareness and whatever, and you still need to take the other ones out. So you get the sense of it, but it's still not the same.
It's a game. Yeah. So David,
I enjoy it. I play with my kids.
David, after you read these 3 scenarios, so what is your advice? What is your solution, conclusion?
In a nutshell, without going to too much in depth, but in a nutshell, my take on it is, I would like to think that I would be able to do anything I needed to. I would like to think that I would be the fight and not the flight or the get frozen.
Yeah.
And I've been in a lot of life situations too. I have not had a gun pulled on me, so I have not been in anything like that. But I was a firefighter and an emergency medical first responder for several years, so I've been in a lot of crazy situations.
But not everyone can do it. But not everyone can do it.
Yeah, not everyone can do it. I've run into burning buildings and dealt with fire and stuff, and it's just. So I think I would be fine. I've had a lot of street fights in my past, so I'm not afraid of fighting. But comes to defending my family and my homestead, I believe I would bring everything I had to the table. And that's why I would want to prepare for it.
I understand, David. But if you're writing a book, okay, it's about you. But what is your advice? Because you say you're still a shooter, but you're not a warrior. You're a hunter, but you wouldn't survive, and so on. You know what we talked about.
My advice is, my advice in all these scenarios is leading up to basically, hopefully, opening their minds to some of the things they're missing in their book of plays, right? So in their playbook, like if they call themselves a hunter, if they call themselves a warrior, if they call themselves a homesteader or a self-reliant person or a prepper. I want to maybe open some doors for them, trigger some thoughts where I'm missing something, and maybe get them to
and saying, take another challenge, try to get into another scenery, into another environment, to really find out if you can do it.
Push yourself. Push yourself as close as you can. We have that ability as humans to get off the chair and go out there and push ourselves in a controlled environment as far as we can. Yes, we're not going to see combat as a civilian, but we can push ourselves as far as we can, and that's our choice to do it. So what I'm hoping to do with this is, with that, at least that portion of the book, is at least open up some ideas in their mind.
Because you're telling this or saying this. Some 2 weeks ago, I find a nice quotation by General Patton. He said, "No good decision was ever made in a swivel chair." It's like that. We are all the swivel chair warriors, everything.
That's true.
That's true.
Very true. Most of the YouTube commenters come from this position.
Yeah, swivel chair warriors. Yeah,
there are a lot of them out there.
And up to a big degree, we are the same. We think about, but we even are aware that we are not perfect, that we have to learn always. You think you were at your edge? No, you weren't. You never know it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wise words. Well, an interesting book. So when do you think you will be done? Kind of roughly like
I don't know. Hopefully this year.
this year. Cool.
The house, the house took me on a different spiral of events that just had my attention for the last year plus. And
how many pages?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to end up. It won't be a very big book. I'm not that special. I don't have that much to say.
But these are interesting thoughts, especially in these times, you know, in these times of real change right now. And we see food shortages coming and stuff like this. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because with all this fakery going on.
And you know, if we are talking not about writing books, but also about marketing a book, think about what Armin just said. You know, the title of the book is very, very important because it should, like a warrior, hit in the target group.
Yeah.
And if the target group is too narrow, you won't have success. So if you have a title who speaks to a broader target group.
I think he speaks to everyone. He only takes the archer as an example. But you say, okay, you have already one who can shoot bow and arrow. How would he do in a survival situation?
But
so I'm not even an archer, so I would do even worse.
Yeah, so but if the title of the book would become the perfect survivalist archer, no. If, for example, if the title of his book would be how to become the perfect survivalist archer, so it's a very narrow target group. If the title would be how to master your life in dangerous situations, I don't know. It's just you know what I like to say.
I would call it, are you prepared?
Are you prepared?
Or are you really prepared? You know, really directly. You think about and you think you are prepared. How many water bottles, how many cans of beans do you have at home? Oh
that speaks to everyone. Are you prepared? That's a good question. Yeah. And because I'm also writing books, I like to say one thing. You know, if you can shorten not what you read to us, but in general, you know, there's a big rule for writers is kill your darlings. So if you think it's that's wonderful, that's funny and good, and so think twice about it, because in most cases it's what you really like, and you don't know if any other people likes it like it. So because you said you don't know how many pages, if you have a target, a goal, and say, oh, I like to write 300 pages, and you have more or so, cut it down and it will be better, believe me.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I guess you have a few that will read it before you go into print and tell you their opinions and look, this is way too whatever.
But you know, like the Zen Buddhists say, and it's a lot about martial arts, Zen Buddhism and martial arts. If you cut your movement down to the real necessary movements, and the same is true with sentences, of course. If you can say it with one sentence, another guy would need 3 sentences or 4 sentences. You're the better writer, of course. But it's not easy.
If it's easy, everybody could do it, you know.
Yeah.
Great. Looking forward to read your book once you're done.
Yeah, me too.
But I would look forward to shoot one of your bows first. Could we make an agreement once, that when you have time and you have one left over, not too heavy?
Yeah.
And I would like to do a
with,
review.
with a long draw.
No, 28 inches. I shoot this hill style bow from Bowman, 28 inches, and I am not so bad.
What
The
are you
thing is,
guessing?
what beneficial, you know, Peter, what beneficial is with me, you can give me whatever bow you want. I am capable of hitting something. You know, this is when you have had a specialized archer, he only has this one equipment, this one set of arrows. And with this, he is good, give him only different arrows and he's all losing shit. I can, with barely, with almost every bow, I can shoot something.
No, it's like we talked before with the Navy SEALs or so. I was so impressed when I read they are able to pick up every weapon on Earth, every weapon system on Earth, and they are able to use it. If it's a helicopter, if it's a kind of, you know, bazooka or, you don't know, they can do it. And same, a good archer would be able to hit something with every kind of equipment, in my opinion.
If it's a good archer, yes, of course. But this well-trained, one bow, one arrow type, recurve shooter, and then
will not, no.
Or hill style shooter, you know. No, it's fine. It's fine. That's why I struggle already with Korean bows, but it's fine. No, it's okay.
I suggest everyone try to broaden their horizon in every archery style they can tackle. You know,
I think people need eye openers because they rely on the complete wrong reality. Yeah, or they live in their fake reality and think they whatever until real reality strikes them, and then they stand there and like, oh, I didn't see that coming, you know. And to do now, I don't know.
I like to say something more because you talked about that, Armin. I always like the Navy SEALs. I like to say, and if I pick up a very bad weapon, you know, I have a very old air pistol, and you know, in a distance about 8 meters, the bullet drops 2 inches or more, and I have a very good one too, a very precise one, but I like to shoot with the bad pistol because I say if I'm able to hit with that bad pistol, so in every case I will hit with the good pistol. And it's like with the Marines, if you know, some weapons are not that good, but if you're able to hit something with them,
of course,
you can survive. And the same is true with bad bows, you know, with this Asiatic and that stuff. And
for sure. Only hill style bows, we know that by now.
No. I'm the opposite. I love, like I said to Dave, still these all are hunters. And I said the same, still these all are archers. One should like primitive bows or Asiatic or, you know, compound bows.
And stick with the string.
Yeah.
Nice. Great. Some less famous words because we are now already almost reaching 2 hours again. So we should maybe cut soon and maybe invite you another time again if you have time, because it's, I mean, you still didn't talk a lot about what you would like to say, I guess, Dave. So you have way more.
You have great. I appreciate it. I'll come back for sure. I'm way more on the pen.
Yeah, it's very interesting what you have to say. So I really appreciate your time. It's really interesting because you have a lot of knowledge, and it's always nice to share.
Yeah.
And to learn from other people.
It was a wonderful talk. I appreciate your knowledge and your spirit. And I will say, I say next time we just talk about your book.
That wasn't even the idea. So no, it's fine. But next time, if I have it ready,
I promise you.
No. We talk about everything, whatever comes up, and you see how the talk goes. You know, there's no real line. It's fine.
But that's the strength of this kind of podcast, I think, because think about Joe Rogan. It's the same. One guy says something, the other has an idea. Oh, let's and so it's a lot of levels of knowledge and ideas, and so I really enjoy it.
Yep, me too.
It was great. It was a great experience. I mean, everything that's everything that's about my life right now with the moment of archery I'm in we brought it up. We talked about it. So it's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. So we have you back one day in a few
All right, sounds
weeks
good.
or months, and then we maybe know more about your finalizing of the book, and
Sure.
maybe you finished your your log home in between.
Maybe, yeah, I'll be in there next time, maybe.
Yeah, great.
And if you ever need a test reader,
Okay.
send me over the manuscript. I'd love to read it and tell you my impression or my ideas about
I
it.
appreciate it.
But we are all hunters. That's my comment.
Yeah.
I'm joking. But it's us, it's Peter and me. We have our own dynamics here going on.
That's great. I appreciate that, though. Yeah, I wouldn't mind at all.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. It was
Thank you.
really nice to have you in our show, Dave. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Peter, for your time, of course, too. And, and
It's
thank you
great.
out there for watching. Would you like to send me your contact information? Then I can put them in the description box of the video. Then people, if they want to get in contact with you, that they use the right channels, not that I look for something and choose the wrong ones, email or Facebook or whichever contact you want to have.
Sure.
If you send it to me just in case somebody's interested in something, or then they can directly contact you.
Absolutely.
Perfecto.
I have to say, good hunting and shoot straight, Dave.
Of course. Thank you very much, guys. See you next time.
Goodbye.
Hasta la vista.